Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine and the best-selling publisher at the boutique publishing house, InspiredLivingPublishing.com. In fact, I'm so excited to share that our 8th book is coming out in October called Courageous Hearts. And you can meet the authors by going to CourageousHeartsBook.com. Be sure to watch for it because I'll tell you, no matter what you're going through in life, someone has walked that path ahead of you and is there to shine, hold a lantern up to help you get through it. And that's why I love publishing inspirational, transformational stories that will inspire you to believe in the power of possibility. So today, I'm going to be talking with Jenny Mannion. And I have a question for you. What if you have the power and tools to transform your life to one that you might have never even allowed yourself to dream of? And what if you were offered tools that only took a few minutes, but could be easily accessed at any time? So we're going to be talking about that and so much more. Jenny is the author of A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life. She found her passion for healing through her own journey is now an intuitive healer, mind-body mentor, and an energetic catalyst who inspires people to connect with their inner power to create the life they desire. As a graduate of Penn State with a BA in psychology, Jenny's always been interested in how the mind works and in helping others. In her practice today, Jenny has witnessed clients heal from depression, cancer, MS, and many other challenges. She conducts workshops, is a contributing blogger for the Huffington Post, and was recently featured on PBS's The Whitney Reynolds Show. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, I told you when I came across your taping of the Whitney Reynolds Show, that's how I first discovered you, and then I was excited to share your book in the top 10, Aspire Mag top 10 list, and that just opened the doors to our connection. So thank you for joining me.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Linda. I'm really grateful for the connection.
You're welcome. Now, I always love to ask an author, because I found out in my circle anyway that many of the authors write their books based on something that was a pivot point in their life. Is that what led to the writing of A Short Path to Change for you?
Absolutely. I had been sick for 7 years, and with a bunch of chronic diseases and illnesses, I was told that I would never be well. I was told that I would be in a wheelchair. And instead I wound up healing myself in 3 weeks. And that led to me just opening up even more to the power of the mind and wanting to learn more and more. It eventually took me on my path to becoming a healing practitioner, and I've done that for the last 10 years. And what I learned is that we all have a lot of the same stuff. We all have trouble with self-love. We all worry a lot. We all talk to ourselves maybe in not so nice ways. There were so many similarities that I found in all my clients and in the reasons that I was sick and how I healed myself that I wanted to share some of the tools that I found that helped me to heal as well as the clients that I had been working with.
Well, the thing is, I think, like you said, a lot of our stories are the same because many years ago, I think I was 40, I was diagnosed with what they thought was, or I was told, was either MS, advanced Lyme disease, or lupus. And yes, I had all the symptoms, but guess what? I would not own the diagnoses. And I've been medication-free, pain-free, and I made the choices to do an inner shift, and that's what I believe shifted everything for me. And I'm curious, is that what started for you, or did something shift in the midst of that 7 years of illness where something in you said, I'm not going to own this? Because the people I talked to that have healed, they said that was a major part. Was it that way for you?
It was that way for me. There were a couple of things that kind of led up, I think, to me being open enough to even receive, that awareness, gaining a good girlfriend to go for a walk and finally feeling like Jenny again, and instead of mom and wife and all of those roles, helped me to open up and be in the right place. That when I saw the movie The Secret, there were a couple things in there that really grabbed me. It was the gratitude, because when you're sick, it's very easy to pay attention to what you're not grateful for, what you can't do, and also that our body's always recreating cells, and we're 99.99% new every 11 months, and where we're putting our attention contributes to those cells that are being made. And I knew that I was not putting my attention in the right place. I was waking up every day, concentrating on my pain, concentrating on my limitations, berating myself because I wasn't a good enough, quote-unquote, mom or wife or friend. So there was that shift, and what I said, after seeing the movie, I was like, you know what? I've tried all the support groups. I've tried the books that say to have a funeral for yourself and get used to being this person. Then none of that resonated with me. This resonated with me. I said, what I can do is say I'm not going to the doctor for a couple of weeks and concentrate on the parts of my body that are working, concentrate on the parts of my life that are working, put all my focus there and just learn more and more and more, listen to the 2-hour Wayne Dyer intentioned PBS specials. I read Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra, just really concentrated on the things that I could do that would make me feel better. And yeah, that was the shift, and gratitude was one of the biggest tools in healing myself.
I have to agree. For me, not even just in health, but 25 years ago I started gratitude practice. It really changed me from the inside out, right? I say that was the first tool I picked up on my spiritual path. And It's one I still continue. It's one I tell my clients. I've taught my grandchildren. It's just tapping into this powerful essence of life, right? That's what I feel gratitude is. It's connecting with the all that is. And that's what it's been for me. So, now that when you healed yourself and then you decided to start sharing what you learned with others, I can imagine that your practice filled really quickly because people are searching for a new way because a lot of the ways that are being taught don't resonate with them.
Yeah, it was challenging in the beginning, Linda, because I went to places, I'd written an ebook, and I'd gone to places like the support groups, and not everyone is ready to heal. Not everyone's at that same spot. So in the beginning, it was actually really challenging for me to find the people to get my message across to, which is why I started blogging, to reach that certain audience. And when I do talk to clients, they do shake their head nodding. They have lots of aha moments, even if they've never really been exposed to this stuff, because this stuff does make sense. When you start talking about how we talk to ourselves, well, how do you speak to yourself? Would you talk to a child like that? Would you talk to an animal, a beloved pet like that? People start shaking their head and nodding, being like, no, that would be horrific. That child or animal would be huddled in the corner under the blankets if I talk to them like I talk to myself. People resonate with the messages that I send, and I try to make things as easy as possible, too, because I know that we meet a lot of resistance, we meet self-sabotage, and I want things to be easy. I want people to see the change happening quickly, because that's that affirmation validation that allows you to feel that inner power to go forward. So it was a little tough in the beginning to get my message out there, but I feel like now, and with the book, is a good vehicle for it because it has those 30 exercises and focuses on getting rid of that old stuff, focusing on the present moment, empowering ourselves. So now I feel like I'm in a much better place where people do, when they read my book or when they hear me speak about these things that we all have in common, it resonates deeply within them.
Was it really vulnerable for you to share your own healing and work in the book, A Short Path to Change?
It was. Yeah, I definitely met some resistance there. It's funny, I talk about, my chapter on self-sabotage is one of the last chapters written, even though it's not the last chapter in the book. There are certain chapters, I think, that were harder for me than others, the ones that hit closer to home. I know that right after healing, it was very hard for me to look back at, quote-unquote, sick Jenny, because I looked at it, I still was kind of in that place of maybe why didn't you heal earlier, or not that full acceptance of my illness. I mean, and now I consider my illness was my greatest gift because it put me exactly where I am today, and it has me have deep empathy for clients that are, as you know, with being diagnosed with all those possible diseases, the tests, the doctor's visits, the weights, the medications, all of those things. I mean, I remember those things, and now I'm able to look back with a lot of compassion for where I was. I did not have the tools, and it wasn't the right timing to heal for me. And I look at that the same way with my clients. I want them to be in the right space, to be able to take some responsibility for themselves from now, to forgive themselves for the past, forgive other people for the past, and not live from there, but live from right in this moment and what we can create from this moment moving forward.
And such a beautiful message, too. And one of the things for me, and I'll say to the listeners, this is my journey. Everyone, we all have an illness or something we may be struggling with, and I like to say that everyone's journey is different. My journey may not be your journey, but for me, it was realizing that I had been receiving signs for quite some time from my body, Jenny, and I was choosing to ignore them. And, of course, I waited until I got hit with a cosmic 2x4, right, with my body shutting down, having a mini stroke at 40 years old. If you look back now, was your body warning you too, and you just weren't tuned in and listening?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's what I'm finding over and over again.
Yeah, and there's a whole chapter in my book a whole section of my book about tuning into the chakra system, which is our inner diagnostic system. And that's what I do now. If I find myself out of balance, I get a sore throat. Oh, throat chakra, what does that mean? What am I not speaking my truth about? So, our body is always giving us those signs, but we're not taught how to listen from a young age. That's just something we're not exposed to.
So true.
Unfortunately, the body has no alternative but to make those signs and signals louder and louder until we have no choice but to listen. And I call myself now a recovering perfectionist. I was a full-on perfectionist with a 4,500 square foot house, and I wanted everything perfect, and a new mom, and I just had such high expectations of myself, unrealistic expectations of myself, and that constant battering, I wouldn't listen. Even if I was tired, I'd motor through because that's what you do, and my body at some point said, you know what, no, no, you're not motoring through anymore. Guess what, you can't move and you're going to feel like you have the flu every day.
And that is such an important message that you're sharing in your book and in the other work that you're doing. When we come back from our break, Jenny, I want to talk a little bit more about the chakras and why you feel it's so important for people to learn about them. And
absolutely.
And we'll be back in a moment with Jenny Mannion of JennyMannion.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book? Or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations, and with me today is Jenny Mannion, author of A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life. So, Jenny, let's talk about the chakras for a while, because I know how that they're an important part of my life, but why do you believe it's so important for people to learn about them?
I believe that they're important to learn about because Eastern medicine and other medicine, ancient medicines, are based on the energy body. And in Western medicine, they somehow just kind of didn't put it in there. And our body is based on energy. Everything in the whole universe is based on energy. So the chakras, the 7 major chakras in our body, are all tied to different times in our life, different development, different emotional factors, different physical factors. And when you start learning about them, when I started learning about them, I actually was like crying because it resonated so deeply in me, and it made so much sense, and it just became a mission of mine. I wrote a chakra ebook with the poems for each, and each was a healing and writing them because they do just make so much sense, starting from the root chakra, it's red, and it represents our time on this planet and the messages that we got from our tribe and our, the people around us in our community and our parents. And it just makes sense that because that's the root chakra, it's tied to our feet and legs, and if it's not in balance, you're going to have trouble feeling comfortable walking on this planet. You're going to have trouble, leg issues or feet problems. You're going to feel depressed because you don't feel like you belong on this planet. Each one just makes so much sense to me. And what I've found is, since healing, it's really been my inner diagnostic system. I know that if I get a sore throat or if I, feel like maybe pressure in my chest or something, there's something maybe in my heart chakra. Is there trouble with a relationship? Throat chakra, is there something I'm not speaking my truth about? We can use it as a way, as we were talking before, about tuning in and listening to our body. It kind of gives us the language to translate what our body is telling us.
I love what you said earlier, like if you get a sore throat, you're like, oh, where am I holding back my truth?
Yeah.
And, it's funny, probably, let's say I'm 55, so probably 18 years ago, I got diagnosed with thyroid disease. So I was on the meds, did all that. 5 years ago, and I'm going to say this right up front to my listeners, I am not advising for anyone to do this. You please follow your inner guidance and or doctor's orders. But for me, Jenny, I just felt, I had this knowing that I no longer needed the medicine. And if you know anything about thyroid disease, they say you don't get off the meds once you're on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just this knowing. And I didn't even tell my family. I weaned myself off over a course of 3 months. And it's been 4.5 years. And I'm still off thyroid meds, and my numbers are perfect. Now, why, right? Because if you go by medical, it can't be reversed, and you're going to be on meds forever. I believe, my own truth, listeners, is that I was doing so much work of showing up authentically in my life and business and everything. I was diving deep into all of that, and I feel like I must have healed up residual stuff that was there that was causing the issue. Have you seen that, especially with women and thyroid disease, or has that been seen in your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. That is the chakra that is most out of balance, actually the third and the fifth. The third is the solar plexus, the power center, and the fifth is usually closed. Because women are, maybe they were brought up not to feel comfortable speaking their truth, to be very uncomfortable, to close down their truth because they don't want to make anyone else uncomfortable. I better just go along with the program. And, yeah, I've found thyroid disease in a lot of women, in my practice. And I have found that working with the throat chakra, it is very healing to start speaking your truth. I know for me, I used to get sore throats. I don't very often. I pay attention when I do because I am very verbal now about speaking my truth, whereas before I was such a people pleaser, and a perfectionist, as a lot of women are, and it felt like, I would hurt someone's feelings, or instead of, now I use the chakras to, when I do speak my truth, like the fourth chakra, I tell my clients to come from the fourth and sixth, to come from your heart, think about what you're going to say ahead of time, to tap into the power of your sixth chakra and your intuition to see the truth of the situation, not your feelings and the residual stuff that's happened, your laundry list of what's happened over the last years, but what's really truth that you need to express, and then come from your throat, and say it in a loving manner. And it gets heard, when you speak from that truth, it does get heard, whereas so many times, like with throat chakra too, it can be overactive and you're shouting at each other, but you're not really hearing each other, because if someone feels blamed, their immediate reaction is going to be defense. They're not going to listen. So I do teach women too, both, but work predominantly with women, how to speak their truth in a kind and gentle way to their spouse or partner so that they're heard, which is really important.
Oh, it's been really important in my life. And I think, like you said earlier, depending, especially what generation the woman is in, it's always been put your needs after everyone else's. So, like you said, that you just become closed down. And when I look back, I can say that I was guilty of that, for a long time, of putting my needs last. But as I started owning my truth and working with the chakras and many other spiritual tools that I have, just so many shifts. And in your book, you share and break down the book into 4 sections, right? And and I know you share a lot about the chakras, but you also ask that the readers progress through the sections in order, right? So I'm curious. First off, describe each section a little bit, but tell us why you feel this needed progression.
Well, the first unit is about getting rid of the old stuff, so that's kind of needed. You got to clear out a space before you can put something new in its place. And it really is about like that forgiveness, that self-forgiveness, listening to your self-talk, becoming aware of your patterns, because we need to clear out that stuff and recognize it first and come to terms with it so we can be at peace and move forward with those tools that are going to help us. But it really is important to look at what we've put in place, and with kindness and love, because we don't want to beat ourselves up about it, but just to know, to come to this place of forgiveness and self-forgiveness, and Ho'oponopono is a big tool. First chapter in my book, forgiveness, is very big. Learning how to forgive yourself for the past. And I know I was just talking about that with you. It's very hard. Even after I healed, I found myself blaming myself for the past. Oh, well, this is why you get sick, and why didn't you know that? So we need to kind of come to terms with that and just assess our lives and what is working and what isn't. What influences are in our lives? Are we around toxic people? Is our place cluttered? All the things in the first unit really are to look at our lives, give kind of an assessment, and it gives you some tools to just kind of start clearing away what no longer serves you. And the second section is the chakras, and that is because I wanted people to connect with their energy body, to understand that they are more than their body, because moving forward in the book, you do tap into your energy body. You tap into that present moment. You're tapping into changing the energy within your body And I wanted people to get a feel for where they need a little help, and when you read those chapters and do the exercises, the ones that meet the most resistance, are probably the ones you need to work on. And a lot of people do have kind of the same ones, but each one's, like the lower chakras are a little harder for people. But, each one is a progression, and the chakras are all connected. Just as I was saying, I use the 4th and 6th chakras, the heart and the intuitive third eye chakra, to use my 5th chakra. So it's really a progression, and I wanted people to learn about that next before we moved into the present moment, which is the third section, which is where all our power is. Okay, so we've looked at the past, we're not going to worry about the future. I have a section in the chapter in the first section about fear and worry. We're really about getting into the present moment where all our power is. And in that section, I offer chapters on self-love, on gratitude, energy healing, so you can feel the energy in your hands, a bunch of different types of meditations, affirmations, an anchor, which is a very powerful tool for feeling grateful for a moment instead of beating yourself up about things that didn't go right, and ways to get in touch with your higher self and love. And then the last section is really about discovering new ways of thought and tools to help. So it's a combination of some of the things that you're going to need, like letting go and receiving, embracing your shadows, but then also ways to move forward, like intention setting and education and community and friends and asking for help. So it really did feel like a logical progression. I say that, within those sections, people can kind of go in whatever order they like, but I do ask that they progress through each section in order.
And now that you explained them, I can really see why. And when we come back from our break, I'd love to talk about some of the things you just mentioned, which are some of the tools, the meditation and energy work as tools to be present, because I think that's so important. And everyone, will be back in a moment. I'm with Jenny Mannion of JennyMannion.com.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jamie Hearn of LiveYourDivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jamie guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit LiveYourDivinity.com to learn more about Jamie's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, and with me today is Jenny Mannion, the author of A Short Path to Change. So, Jenny, in the last segment you brought up meditation and energy work as tools to help us be present, right? And it was when I learned how to be instead of do, because like you, I was a perfectionist in my younger years, especially in the 90s when I had another business for 11 years. I drove myself to the ground. And I'm all about meditation and energy work. So how do you incorporate it, and how do you suggest our listeners could incorporate it in their life?
Well, energy work, I'll start with that. I call myself an energy and chakra junkie kind of, because I think there is such power in tapping into our energy body. And we all know we feel good or bad energy. If we walk in a room, we can tell if people are happy and they're miserable probably the second we walk in, most people. We have that connection to energy, but we never really call our attention to it, to the present moment, to feel it. So before I begin any meditation or before I begin exercises with my clients, I have them rub their hands together for 30 to 45 seconds and then just hold them apart and feel that energy coursing through their hands to and from their hands. And it is so amazing when people feel that for the first time. Like, whoa, that's kind of cool. And I love that part of it, too. And I tell people that when they are feeling that energy, to tap into that childlike, wow, that's kind of cool, because the more we're in that state, the more healing it is. And it brings us definitely to the present moment. And from when people do feel the energy in their hands, I'll have them bring it up like their arms and, up and down their body gently and slowly. And it's something that I still do. I have a very busy mind, so it's something that I still do to help me get in that relaxed state to do a meditation, or even when I'm meditating, to just bring that up and down my body. Before I go to bed, I bring energy very slowly up and down my body so it's relaxing. In the morning, sometimes if I need a little pick-me-up, I'll imagine that energy going really quickly up and down my body. And there are so many energy-guided meditations that you can do, free online on YouTube. There's so many possibilities of ways to use energy and tap into it. And it's just kind of empowering that, like, hey, I had this all along, and I never really knew I had this. It's almost like a superpower when you tap into it, because you feel like that warmth and the tingles, and it's just very comforting. And it also does bring you instantly to the current moment and to paying attention to how cool and wonderful it feels to feel that sensation.
And I love that you're sharing it in a way that they can do it themselves, because you can also have energy work done, go to a practitioner. But I love that you empower your readers to say, you can do this right here and right now in this moment.
Absolutely, yeah. I love that. And there's countless modalities and energy workers you can go to. And believe me, I love my energy sessions. Every time I give an energy session, I feel energized too. It's a beautiful thing. But it is really important that we know that we have this power within us. The ancient people knew that. We all have. We're self-healing. I always comment on that too. Like, we get a cut and it heals because we're not obsessing over it. We don't have doctors saying it's not going to heal. Like, every fiber of our being just knows it's going to heal, and it heals itself. So why not harness some of that power that we have and learn how to use it in our body? I show people this exercise so that, if they have a stressful job, you know what? You can go to a bathroom stall and bring in this energy in about 10 seconds, or 1 minute, and bring it up and down your body to relax you and feel better. Like, there are all these little tools, and that is what my book is about, and my practice is about, showing people all these little tools that they can do so they don't need help. I want them to feel empowered. And yes, sometimes we do need to reach out for help, but we all do have these powers within us. And it's my wish and hope that someday, in schools they start to teach this stuff, because it would help people so much. I know it's helped my daughter. My daughter and son both know how to do reconnective healing, and energy work. And it's just a calming tool to have, as well as all the different meditations that there are in there. There are countless ways to meditate as well. And
that's what I wanted to ask you. What's your meditation process? your ritual every day? Do you do guided? Do you have a ritual? What do you...
My ritual is no ritual.
Exactly, because I'm the same way. That's why I asked.
I am not... Some people really thrive on routine and can do something the same way, for years. I cannot. I get bored, and then my mind will wander, and then it's not as effective. So... Again, that's kind of what my book is based on. I want to give you as many tools as you can, because sometimes I'll wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do Ho'oponopono right now, I'm not in the mood for that. Instead, I'm going to do a guided meditation, or today I feel like an energetic meditation. Or one of my favorite meditations is a sensory meditation, where you could go outside or in your home and close your eyes and just, what do you hear? And bringing that sense in deeper, because we hear and see so many more things than we think we do, so to be able to close our eyes and concentrate on what we hear, and suddenly, I'm hearing 3 different kind of bird calls, and the wind, and the cars in the background, and someone mowing their lawn miles away, and all these sounds, and it brings you to that present moment, and it just brings you to this sense of peace, and that, wow, I am more powerful, I do have more abilities than I give myself credit for. It brings you to that place of just kind of beauty. And there are so many ways to meditate. Sometimes I will do a mantra meditation. I will feel like maybe there's an affirmation on something that I'm really working on in my life, and I want to bring that into my being. So I'll do an energy meditation and get into that space and bring that mantra in. Walking in nature is also meditative for me. I try to walk every day, get out to the park. So there's so many different ways, and I want people to know that it's not everyone meditates the same way. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It can be your own practice, and just have fun with it. The more you have fun with it and enjoy it, the more you're going to want to do it. And I know that, especially in these times where things are, speeding up and getting more challenging for almost everyone, I need my meditation practice. I need my spiritual practice every day, no matter how it looks that day. But I know that I cannot, if I do miss it, I'm going to feel it.
It's so true, and I'm so glad that you said you don't have a regular practice, because I don't either. I used to remember judging myself, like, I can't meditate. I'm not one of those people that can sit down and just do that. It's not how my mind is. It sounds like our minds are the same, very busy. But then I realized, Jen, just like you said a moment ago, is when I just take a moment throughout my day, which I take many now, just to stop and drop down into my body, that's meditation for me.
Yeah.
If I say, this is feeling like thick and muddy when I'm working on something, I know it means I'm meant to step away and go within myself. And sometimes I'll just do a walk around my house. I live in the middle of the woods on the water, so it's very grounded in nature. That's my meditation. So I love that you said you don't have this formal thing where you have to sit on a mat, put your fingers together, because I used to judge myself for that, and I spoke to so many women who did the same thing. They judged themselves like, I'll never be able to meditate. Yeah. I can meditate now, using that word, washing dishes, because
Absolutely.
It's about being fully present. So I love that you're teaching that.
Yeah, the shower, too, is such a beautiful time, because the water is washing you and cleansing you. And so many times we're not even in our head in the shower. It's like, oh, what am I going to do today? And what's next? When I get out of the shower? You're not present. So to use that shower time to be like, oh, the water is washing away all my negativity. It's beautiful that I have running water every day to stand in, and just allowing it to just heal you and cleanse you. There's so many, you can make anything a meditation, literally. Just broadening that definition. And I know that there are some that are very strict on, you have to meditate this way, but I am not a believer in that at all.
No, I believe that we're all wired differently.
Yes.
And we have to find what works for us. I did. 15 years ago, I bought the little cushions, had put the little chimes there and said, okay, that's going to be my little corner. God, after 5 days, I was like, oh, my God. It just was not me. But my girlfriend committed at the same time. It was a natural for her, right? So everyone's just wired differently. And if everyone just keeps searching, they will find the way that's right for them.
Absolutely. And, even the way that's right for you right now, giving yourself that love and kindness that, it might not be that way for you. 6 months from now, you might feel like you need another type of meditation, and that's okay too. It's the less you judge yourself on it, and the more you're just kind of curious, like that little kid, like, oh, hey, okay, I need something else. What else can I check out? This one's kind of cool. Maybe I'll check this out. Maybe I'll check that out. And just doing the different ones until you find something that does resonate and does feel good.
And that's the biggest thing, is the self-talk, right, and not judging ourselves, because I think we as women have a real tendency to do that. Well, my friend Mary can do this and get into, this yoga pose, and I'm like, that's Mary, that's not you. And I'll tell my clients, you listen to your body, listen to your intuition, listen to your soul tell you what it needs and how you can bring that into your life. And when we come back from the last break, Jenny, what I want to talk about, you share some great exercises at the end of every chapter. So when we come back, I'd love to know what's the best way the readers can use these, and do they do them just once, or is this something that you want them to go back over and over again? And we can discuss that when we come back from our last break. I'll be back in a moment with Jenny Mannion of JennyMannion.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you an empath? Have you been called highly sensitive, empathic, or intuitive? You, my friend, may be a highly sensitive badass. It's time to embrace this as a gift so you can unlock your sensitive superpowers, nourish your mind, body, and spirit, and show up as your greatest and most badass sensitive self. If you're a healer, lightworker, coach, or caregiver feeling overwhelmed by your sacred gifts, Courtney Chait, writer, speaker, and mentor for highly sensitive badasses, can show you how to tap into your feminine brilliance through divine self-care so you can live your highest purpose and reach your full potential. Visit highlysensitiveBadass.com to learn more about Courtney's Highly Sensitive Lightworker and Weight Loss for Sensitive Women programs. While you're there, take a quick test to discover if you're a highly sensitive person.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism.
Me, a cat moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. I'm Linda Joy, your host. And today we're talking with Jenny Mannion of A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life. So, Jenny, right before the break, I mentioned your book, and that at the end of every chapter there's these exercises. And what's the best way for the reader to use them?
Well, I would say as they're going through the chapters, I would like them to do the exercise right after they read the chapter, because it is in their consciousness, what I just said about it. If they find any resistance, I don't want them to push themselves through something that's hugely uncomfortable. You can leave it and go back to it another time, maybe try it the next day or a couple days later, go back to that chapter and see if it's comfortable. If it's something that resonates strongly, use it as a regular exercise. There are a couple things in my book, like Ho'oponopono, that I do use on a regular basis, the Hawaiian prayer. I do use anchoring as a regular exercise, where you bring in every emotion and memory of one of these very special memories of your life. Like you find the best memory of joy in your life, and you bring in every emotion, close your eyes and bring in the people that were there and every sense that you experienced. I think the anchoring exercise is a really strong one move forward with, because a lot of times we can bring ourselves back to the bad moments, but we don't bring ourselves back to the good moments very often. So having an anchor is very powerful. So whatever it is that resonates with you, I'd say it can become a part of your spiritual practice and your toolbox. As we were saying with the meditation, that we don't meditate the same way every day. I don't use the same spiritual tools every day. I will reach into the toolbox and grab something different. If I'm having problems communicating my truth, and I know that the fifth chakra needs some work, I will do fifth chakra meditations or exercises until I feel like I am healing that part and I can move forward. So it really is an intuitive process. I'm starting to, hand things over to the reader with trusting your intuition. What resonates with you? What doesn't? I give you, there's more than 30 tools in the book because I give, like 6 different types of meditation. There's a lot of tools in there. Take what you want, and try everything. I would like you to try everything once, because we don't know until we try something if it resonates or not. But, I'm giving so many tools so it can appeal to a bunch of different people, and they can pick what they like and what resonates strongly with them.
And I think that's a great tip, is at least try it, even if it sounds different than what you're used to. You don't know if that could be the magical tool that you were waiting for if you don't try it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the energy work, it's funny, I had a local client recently that came in, and she expressed that she was a little scared about the energy, so I said, okay, well, before I put you on my massage table, let's, just feel the energy in our hands. And when I had her rub her hands together and hold them apart, she was smiling so wide and like, wow, this is like a hidden superpower I never knew I had. So, it went from fear to joy very quickly. So we don't know until we try something what it's going to bring up in us.
And it just shifted completely her fears.
Oh, absolutely. And she came in doubled over in pain with her hips and in the worst mood, and she left smiling and in no pain. So, she left with a very different feeling about energy and energy work than she came in with.
I love that. And I just find this is how why I love doing my show. It's having healers on that can share these kind of resources, because we know, because we've already lived it, that this stuff works, right? We just want to shout it to the world to say, please, there's other ways, try them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all so powerful, and that is, the underlying message. We're all so powerful. It's just accepting that and being in that self-love. And we talked about gratitude before, but I feel like the most important gratitude is gratitude for ourselves. And we're so quick to beat ourselves up about, I wish I didn't say or do that, but how many times do you give yourself credit for everything you do in a day, or even one thing you did that day? Oh, I'm so happy I took that yoga class, or took that walk, or made my family dinner, or smiled at that woman in the grocery store, or all the kind and loving things that we do in a day, shining that gratitude, shining that self-love, and that gives us a lot more empowerment. Than if we're insulting ourselves, obviously. If you're insulting a child or an animal, you're making them feel small, and they're not going to have that self-confidence. It's the same thing with us, to treat ourselves as kindly as we would our closest loved ones.
It's such great guidance. I've said to my daughter's now 33, and I remember when she was younger, they go through that stage. I think she was probably about 15 years old, and I remember saying, the self-talk at that age when they're unsure of themselves. And I said something similar, is because she loves children, and she was like always the auntie to her cousins, right, because there was an age difference. I said, if one of the kids came up to you and said they were feeling that way about themselves, right, or saying that to themselves, would you condone it? Oh, she goes, no, I would tell them the opposite. I said, then why are you doing it to yourself? Mm-hmm. And it's how I've healed myself, too, is I had to keep asking myself that question. Would you say this to someone you love? So I love that you're teaching that, because I think changing the conversation that women have with themselves is really the first step. And like you said in section 1 of your book about clearing the old stuff, that self-talk is got to go.
Yeah, it does.
It's like,
it does.
It's got to go. Now, if there's one message from this book that you want your readers and today's listeners to walk away with, what would it be, Jenny?
It would be that change is possible, and change can be faster and easier than maybe you've been told or maybe you've told yourself. We all have infinite power within us, and that's the power that connects us to everything. And with this book and offering these tools, they're fast, they're easy. You can do them in the shower. You could do them, on the way to work, a lot of them. I mean, you can make the time, because I know that's another thing a lot of people say, there's no time. There's always windows of time, and it changes everything when you start being kind and loving to yourself.
It's so beautiful. Change is possible, and we know it to be true. And yes. I am curious, because the book is called A Short Path to Change, right? So how do you define short path to change?
Well, look at some of these patterns and behaviors and self-talk can probably have been in our lives for years, decades even. It's not going to take a fraction of that time to change it. If I know that I healed 7 years of chronic illness in 3 weeks. I've seen cancer disappear within, a week, within a session. I mean, there can be quick shifts. The more aha moments we have, the more kind we are to ourselves, the more we're living in our joy and our passions and our gifts, the more everything can shift really very quickly.
It's so true. And I know everyone's going to ask, can people that read the book, if they follow through the sections and, like you said, go in order and actually show up and do the work, do the exercises, do the meditations that you guide, they'll see results. I know it. I can feel it. And I read some of the exercises. Is that what you want them to know? That if you do the work...
Absolutely. Show up for yourself. Like you said, I make these exercises short. I think the longest exercise in my book is probably like 15 minutes. Most of them are under 5 minutes long. To be able to give yourself this toolbox moving forward so that when you do, life happens. It's not like we're in a bubble and we're not going to meet adversity sometime or triggers, but you're going to have a whole toolbox to pull from so that you know that life can be easier, and the harder times come farther and fewer between, and they're much shorter.
I notice that it does, doesn't it? It's almost like it's like everything accelerates when you step on this path, right?
It does.
Energy does, healing. Even for me, I notice manifesting. Everything accelerates as you start doing the inner work and tapping into your energy and clearing, like you said. I love that you start the book with clearing the old stuff. It's like almost like, I think even after that section, clearing the old stuff, just the clearing leaves space for so much more, right? Space for healing, space for love, space for abundance. I think a lot of us forget how much old stuff that we're carrying that is a psychic weight.
Yeah, and I recently heard a quote that we have 70,000 thoughts a day. I think 80 to 85% are negative, and 95% of them are the same thoughts we had yesterday. So, if we work on those percentages a little bit, get those down, create new thoughts and new energy, focus on being positive instead of bringing that negative self-talk in, things switch really fast. And the more we do this work with ourselves, even as you said, you bring yourself to the current moment a few times a day, a couple of minutes a day. Even if you do that, things will change really quickly.
I've lived it, you've lived it, and many of your readers and clients have lived it. So this works. And I want to invite everyone to visit Jenny's website at jennymannion.com. Depending on where you're listening from, if you're on the OMTimes site, you can see her webpage link and visit her on Facebook and her other social media platforms also. And check out her book, A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life. It was in Aspire Magazine's Top 10 Inspiring Books choice, so pick it up. And Jenny, I want to thank you for being here with me and my listeners today. I am so glad that we were able to connect and just circle up together.
I am so grateful, and I had a really wonderful time speaking with you.
And everyone, I look forward to having you join me every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern for more inspiring conversations. For even more inspiration, be sure to claim your free subscription to Aspire magazine. You can do that at subscribetoaspire.com. Until next time, choose love, choose joy, and choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.